right mind, you say, can't be done.
The high wire walk without the wire.
You exhale and breathe in without pause, for as long as you feel one seamless stream. The music never breaks. It stops when you stop. The word for this is
didgeridoo and circular breathing, the switching point between what you hear and what you can be led to believe.
Wind moving through wood, the pressure of blood against the wall of veins, the pull of ovum and sperm, the dreamy mantra of the interstate turning into a drowsy hum.
You could like being lost once you come this far. What you dream up is deeper than what you know.
Like the sound the mind makes at the root, only lower, below habits of thinking, below the unseen motion of a synapse and hook.
Of a sigh,
of a gaze.
What story does it tell?
Wood and lung and air at the end of breathing as we know it to be.
Things we cannot explain.
The spells we want to be under.
A dream of retarded children. That afternoon, I had been fishing alone. Strong wind, some water slopping in the back of the boat. I was far from home. Later, I woke several times, hearing geese. I dreamt I saw retarded children playing, and one came near. And her teacher, face open, hair light. For the first time, I forgot my distance. I took her in my arms and held her. Waking up, I felt how alone I was. I walked on the dock, fishing alone in the far north.
Cloudy day. It's windy today. A wall of wind crashes against windows clunking against iron frames as wind swings past broken glass and sees like a frightened cat in empty spaces of the cell block.
In the exercise yard, we sat huddled in our prison jackets, on our haunches against the fence, and the wind carried our words over the fence, while the vigilant guard in the tower held his cap at the sudden gust.
I could see the main tower from where I sat, and the wind in my face gave me the feeling I could grasp the tower like a cornstalk and snap it from its roots of rock.
The wind plays it like a flute, this hollow shoot of rock, the brim girded with barbed wire, with a guard sitting there also, listening intently to the sounds as the clouds cover the sun.
I thought of the day I was coming to prison in the backseat of the police car. Hands and ankles chained, the policeman pointed. See that big water tank? The big silver one sticking up out there. That's the prison.
And here I am, I cannot believe it. Sometimes it's such a dream, where I stand up in the face of the wind. Like now, it blows at my jacket, and my eyelids flick a little bit, as I stare, disbelieving.
The third day of spring, and 4 years later, I can tell you how a man can endure, how a man can become so cruel, how he can die or become so cold. I can tell you this because I've seen it every day. And still, I'm strong enough to love you, love myself, and feel good. Even as the earth shakes and trembles and I have not a thing to my name, I feel as if I have everything.
Do you think I know what I'm doing, that for one breath or one half breath I belong to myself, as much as a pen knows what it's writing or a ball can guess where it's going next?
Whenever Richard Corey went downtown, we peep on the pavement and looked at him. He was a gentleman from soul to crown, clean-favored and imperially slim. He was always quietly arrayed and always human when he talked, but still he fluttered pulses when he said, "Good morning," and glittered when he walked. And he was rich, yes, richer than a king, and mildly schooled in every grace. In fine, we thought he had everything to make his wish win his place. So on we worked and waited for the light, went without meat and cursed the bread, and Richard Corey, one calm summer night, went home and put a bullet through his head.
'Twas in another lifetime, one of toil and blood, when blackness was a virtue, the road was full of mud. I came in from the wilderness, a creature void of form. Come in, he said, I'll give you shelter from the storm.
And if I pass this way again, you can rest assured I'll always do my best for him. On that I give my word. In a world of still-eyed death and men who are fighting to be warm, come in, he said, I'll give you shelter from the storm.
Not a word was spoken between us. There was little risk involved. Everything up to that point had been left unresolved. Try imagining a place where it's always safe and warm. Come in, he said, I'll give you shelter from the storm.
Burn out from exhaustion.
I can't help it, Collins.
Songs and rhythms that require far more than the ears alone. Songs drenched in magic and mysticism, traveling from the depths of a distant village to your favorite urban street corner. The journeyman is led to a somehow familiar place in an unknown land. Here there are no telephones to say what we cannot say. Messages being sent to living and non-living things alike. Fortunately for the receiver, the language is universal. A storm is brewing beneath the earth's surface. Birds cease to converse, and a child cries in his mother's arms. Hush, hush, she coos. He looks into her face with infinite trust and sleeps in song to her heavy heartbeat. The honking of horns and the laughter of children fill the thick summer air. The mother fans her face as she remembers her own mother, rocking and swaying her to sleep on that very fire escape.
We take long trips, we puzzle over the meaning of a painting or a book. But what we're wanting to see and understand in this world, we are that.
He hitched 1,000 miles north from San Francisco, hiked up the mile-side, a mountain in the air. The little cabin, one room, walls and glass. Meadows and snowfields, hundreds of peaks. We lay in our sleeping bags, talking half the night. Wind in the guy cables, summer mountain rain. Next morning I went with you as far as the cliffs. Loaned you my poncho, the rain across the shale, you down the snowfield, flapping in the wind. Waving a last goodbye, half hidden in the clouds. To go on hitching, clear to New York. Me back to my mountain in far, far west.
I heard my first love story, I started looking for you, not knowing how blind that was. Lovers don't finally meet somewhere, they're in each other all along.
This is I Give You Back. I release you, my beautiful and terrible fear. I release you. You were my beloved and hated twin, but now I don't know you as myself. I release you with all the pain I would know at the death of my daughters. You are not my blood anymore. I give you back to the white soldiers who burned down my home, beheaded my children, raped and sodomized my brothers and sisters. I give you back to those who stole from our place when we were starving.
I release you, fear, because you hold these scenes in front of me, and I was born with eyes that can never close. I release you, fear, so you can no longer keep me naked and frozen in the winter, or smothered under blankets in the summer.
I release you.
I release you.
I release you.
I release you. I am not afraid to be angry.
I'm not afraid to rejoice.
I am not afraid to be black.
I'm not afraid to be white.
I am not afraid to be hungry.
I'm not afraid to be full.
I am not afraid to be hated.
I'm not afraid to be loved. To be loved. To be loved, fear.
Oh, you have choked me, but I gave you the leash. You have gutted me, but I gave you the knife. You have devoured me, but I lay myself on the fire.
I take myself back, fear. You are not my shadow any longer. I won't hold you in my hands. You can't live in my eyes, my voice. My belly are in my heart. My heart, my heart.
But come here, fear. I am alive, and you are so afraid of dying.
Your song, a wished-for song. Go through the ear to the center, where sky is, where wind, where silent knowing. Put seeds and cover them. Blades will sprout where you do your work.
This is dedications. I know you're reading this poem late before leaving the office of the one intense lamp spot and the darkening window in the lassitude of a building faded to quiet long after rush hour.
Poem standing up in a bookstore far from the ocean on a gray day of early spring. Faint flakes driven across the plains as enormous spaces around you.
I know you're reading this poem in a room where too much has happened for you to bear, where the bedclothes lie in stagnant clothes on the floor and the open valise speaks of flight, but you cannot leave yet.
I know you're reading this poem as the underground train loses momentum, and before running up the stairs towards a new kind of love.
I know you're reading this poem by the light of a television screen where soundless images jerk and slide while you wait for the newscast from the Intifada.
I know you're reading this poem in a waiting room of eyes met and unmeeting with identity of strangers.
I know you're reading this poem by fluorescent light in the boredom and fatigue of the young who are count themselves out at too early an age.
I know you're reading this poem through your failing sight, the thick lens enlarging these letters beyond all meaning, yet you read on because even the alphabet is precious.
I know you are reading this poem as you pace beside the stove warming milk, a crying child on your shoulder, a book in your hand, because life is short and you too are thirsty.
I know you are reading this poem which is not in your language, guessing at some words while others keep you reading, and I want to know which words they are.
I know you are reading this poem, listening for something torn between bitterness and hope, turning back once again to the task you cannot refuse. I know you are reading this poem because there's nothing else left to read, there where you have landed, stripped as you are.
Don't touch the mic.